Welcome back to the basement here. It's really quieter down here today, Joe.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Start off with injuries. By and large, I think we got out of the game fairly healthy. You know, kind of interested to see how Tuck bounces back after played about 25 plays, kind of what we expected. Sometimes when it wears off after the game, it feels a little bit different. He was okay yesterday. We did a pool workout with the guys, kind of take him off the weight room. Didn't have practice, just did meetings in the pool workout. Had a little recovery workout, and so he probably won't have a ton of contact tomorrow. Try to see how he feels on Wednesday, and hopefully just get him ready to go a few more reps than he did last week. And so,
Who is that?
That's Tucker Yates.
Okay.
And then along that with the interior defensive line, just kind of still patching that group together a little bit. And so hopefully Foe went out of the game and he bounced back pretty quick. We'll see kind of how he is. Dylan Mahoney ran for the first time yesterday, and that's a promising sign for us. And he should practice this week. We'll see how effective he is. Obviously, we don't want to put him in a situation where he's not quite ready to go yet. But I think that kind of covers the injury front for us in terms of that particular game. And that's it. Questions?
Was it an ankle?
It was, I think it's a knee,
Yeah.
a little sprain on the knee, and we're going to take a look at. He was in there this morning getting treatment and was taking care of it yesterday, and so said he feels pretty good today.
Coach, what are the areas this team needs to improve on to turn things around?
Well, it's just an interesting deal. I mean, yesterday, or Saturday rather, really the things that we pay attention to, third down efficiency, red zone, turnovers, but we outgained them. We were about the same in the red zone. We scored outside the red zone once, so that kind of takes that out of it. It comes down to the turnovers again. And, I look at it, was a 14-14 game at halftime. I think one of the pivotal things that took place in the game was at the end of the first half where we get a short punt. I honestly think they were going to run the clock out. They got the first down on the 3rd and 5, and I think that changed their mindset, and then they immediately hit that fade ball down our sideline to the big tight end and went in and scored. And when you win the toss and defer, and you get a score at the end of the first half, that means you're getting the ball right back with momentum. Now, to our defense's credit, we were able to hold them on that first possession of the first half, or second half rather, and then we took the ball down and threw an interception on the 40-yard line. And they took that down and ended up getting a field goal out of that to make it a 17-14 game. And they get another score. It's 24-14. We're punting to give them the ball back and going into the fourth quarter. And for whatever reason, I brought this up with our team yesterday, and I think that our guys kind of thought it was maybe different than it was. It was a 2-possession game, 10-point game going into the fourth quarter, and for whatever reason, I think our guys just that the lack of our ability to get things going in the third quarter on offense maybe created a little bit of that feeling like, okay, how are we going to get this done? And I thought the game really came down to missed opportunities. We had 3 opportunities to take the ball away that were missed. Bryson, deep ball that he's got an opportunity to take that away. Fletcher had one that was I think a pretty legitimate opportunity to get a pick there, and then Nigel had one on a slant, and that would have been in the red zone. They ended up scoring on that drive. That's an opportunity for us to take points away from them and give our offense some momentum. And I felt like offensively we had 3 opportunities to make big plays. I thought Justin Page on a corner route was a very catchable ball, had an opportunity there. There was a deep post. Their DB made a nice play on it, but I think you got to go back and compete for that ball and at least force the official to make a decision as to whether it was interference or not. And I thought Keon, even on a jump ball where you can make the argument that there might have been some contact, but we got to go compete and win those plays. That's making plays, and to me, that's the difference right now. So hey, yeah, we turned the ball over, but we had 6 opportunities to make game-changing plays that we left out there, and I even take that down to we didn't convert a 4th down, and there was a 3rd and 1 that we don't get. And I think those are demoralizing plays too, in terms of, hey, we've got the ball right around midfield, and we're trying to continue a drive, to sustain a drive, and the defense, is going, okay, yeah, let's get this thing done, and now we put one in, and it's a 3-point game, and that was really the nature of it. We kind of gave up those 10 points right at the beginning of the third quarter, and then it was kind of nothing, really, from them and us. And what we needed something. We needed one of those turnovers. We needed one of those catches, something to give us that kind of that momentum back and that hope that we can go compete and make some plays happen. And, when you're a fragile group like we are because of the situations that we've been in, You got to create your own hope. I mean, there's nobody's going to give you anything in this world. You got to go out and take it. Sometimes I think we're waiting for things to happen instead of being the guy that says, hey, I'm going to go make something happen.
So is that a mental thing that needs to be improved?
I think certainly a large part of it is psychological. You know, I mean, this is an interesting game. I mean, you win your one-on-one matchups sometimes, but that doesn't always play out because it's all it takes is one guy not winning his one-on-one matchup, and that has an effect on the other 10 guys. And so, yeah, we've got to push through those mental barriers. And I've said this for a while. I just didn't think it was going to take this long. You know, I just think we need that moment. You know, and I can point to 5 or 6 different plays throughout the course of the season that could have been that moment for us. And it just, for whatever reason, hasn't happened yet. You know, Chris gets the ball out of his hands in the NAU game. You know, we get the 2-point conversion in the UND game. I mean, there's all of these things. You can go back and replay all these things in your mind about, well, it could have been that one, it could have been that one, it could have been that one. And I can certainly say that about Saturday's game. There was plenty of opportunities for us to have those moments where we break through. And you know, I really believe that it's in front of us, and it, you know, I'm really hopeful that it's this week. You know, and but I think that yes, it certainly, to a certain extent, it does become a mental pull.
There were 2 targeting ejections on Saturday.
Yeah, that was interesting. Hadn't seen one all year, at least in our games.
Just curious about what you thought about those calls and what you think in general about the rule.
You know, I'm okay with it. It's part of the game that we need to eliminate, and we got to be smart. You know, McCarthy's. It was interesting because now this year that's a new rule where they don't necessarily have to throw the flag. They can buzz them from up top and say, hey, I think we may have had a targeting here. Let's take a look at it. And so which I think is a good rule, because I think those are bang plays a lot of times, and the officials may not see it. And I don't think it was a malicious act at all. I think the guy caught the ball and was coming down, and had he stayed high, you know, Mark McCarthy would have been in the strike zone. But it is what it is. And then there's on our sideline, really more probably of a late hit than necessarily targeting. But what he did was he kind of headbutted him. And so, you know, I think it's something we as coaches have to be very, very sensitive to, and we have to do a good job of coaching that part of the game out. And I think the officials obviously have an obligation to enforce that rule.
On the injury front, if Dylan comes back, will Mitch move back to the right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what the plan would be initially. You know, Patrick's done a solid job of filling in for us at right tackle, but we've got to kind of just let that play out through the course of the week, and that would kind of get us back to our original 5.
Is that hard? Since Mitch has played now, he's kind of finding his way at left tackle. So is it hard would it be hard for him to go back?
I think it'd be easier for him than it would be for Dylan to play right tackle.
Right.
And so that's part of the decision making process. Is, you know, we don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. If we feel like the matchup favors Patrick, and you know, we've got Mitch doing a really good job at left tackle. Okay, well maybe we just spot play Dylan to get him ready to go, and then see how it goes the next week. And I think that'll play itself out over the next couple days of practice.
How do you think Nigel looked on film?
Nigel competed well. You know, the one that he didn't like, and I don't think he realized that guy's stride length was as good as it was, because he actually separated from him. You know, and I'm not sure he's going to go up and jump up and make that play anyway, because it was a well-thrown ball.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the one I'm sure that he'd be the first one, and he was the first one saying, hey, I got this, don't worry about it. I think the bigger concern was how was he going to respond yesterday, because played a lot of football for not having played any for a long time in terms of game repetitions. And so he was sore, which you would expect, but I think he bounced back. I think the pool workout was good for him. I was pleased with how he competed. I definitely think he increases the competitiveness of that room and helps us be a better secondary.
Did you see his competitiveness before the game? It seemed like he was really, really jacked up.
I told him before the game, yeah, it's funny you say that, Colter, because I was like, hey, been a long time since this kid played a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to sit out all last year, and then basically sat out all this year, and so he's got all this pent-up aggression and emotion, and so that was actually one of the things I was concerned about. Is, you know, let's get into this thing, and you know, don't let the performance anxiety curve ruin you here. So let's. But I thought he did a nice job of kind of falling into place, and you know, it was a good added dimension for us back there.
What Conkle at safety?
Did some good things. You know, he's a physical guy. You know, there's one play in particular. I remember they were running a gap scheme and they had the guard out in front. He's coming downhill, and I mean, he just levels the guard. You know, I don't know that we get that out of some other guys back there, because, you know, at one point in time we were talking about moving him to Sam linebacker to back up Mac, and so he's got, you know, he's a 215-pound kid, and he's got long levers and is good in space, and the area where, you know, he'll probably have to continue to improve is being able to cover the slot. But I thought Conkle did a nice job of going out and competing. And, you know, really we gave up one explosive pass play down the sideline, and that was really it. and we were pleased with that. What we didn't do a very good job of in the second half was defend the run. And one of the things that we were doing kind of by scheme was we were saying, okay, can we hold up and stop the run with our interior 3 defensive linemen and our 2 inside linebackers, which we did for the first half. And in the second half, they changed a couple of their blocking schemes. They did a couple things that gave us some problems, and they were able to get, and number 4 did a heck of a job of breaking tackles. And so I think that was kind of the really a big difference in that game was their ability, their commitment actually to running the ball, because that's really not who they are. And so once they decided, hey, I think we can run the ball against these guys, and I think that was a combination of us doing a decent job in the secondary, and even actually being able to, even though we didn't get a lot of quarterback sacks or hits, we were making them throw the ball on time. And so that's where some of those opportunities come off of for the interceptions, and we've got to capitalize on those.
What are Kunkel's strengths?
Was range, number 1. You know, he's a 6'3" kid, and I think his physicality, I think those are the 2 things that would stand out to me immediately in terms of what he brings to the table in the back end there.
How do you think Bryson did playing free?
Thought it was a little bit more of a stretch in terms of learning that he very much in the right spots, but uncharacteristic of him, he missed some tackles. And sometimes you don't think about just the angle that you're coming from can change that. And I think that was something that he even mentioned that it was just a little bit different coming from that deep of space and having to take the air out a little bit more. And he was a little bit low on some tackles where usually he'll fit a guy up because that's his style. And so I think that, but as far as getting guys lined up and playing the ball in the air, with the one on the deep post that was overthrown, it would have been nice for him to grab that. But he made a couple plays coming off the hash to support the corners that I don't know that we've seen those plays this year. Where it's okay, the corner's got decent coverage, but here comes the safety to knock the ball off the guy, whether it's in the corner of the end zone or down the sideline. And so I thought he did some good things, and I think he'll continue to grow there, and I think that'll create competition in that room, and that's going to be good for us.
How'd Kahari react to not starting?
I think he was very positive. In fact, yesterday afternoon, we were going through the film. I know Coach Alexander made a comment that he was like, after he pointed some things out, he was like, I see what you're talking about. Something that maybe we should have created that competition and that urgency a little bit earlier, but, we had some confidence in Kahari's game reps and what he was able to do, but I think that's just going to make those guys all better in that room.
What's your debrief on UC Davis? Your typical debrief?
The debrief. Well, offensively, they're a multiple formation offense, but they're really pro style in terms of what they want to do. A lot of 2-back sets. They utilize 2 tight ends a great deal. They're very much committed to running the football. When they do push the ball down the field, it's primarily to number 3, the Doss kid, who's their leading receiver. Averages over 70 yards a game in receptions, and a lot of it is back shoulder fades, 50-50 jump balls, that type of stuff. And so they'll, if they see that he's got single coverage, they're gonna throw the ball to him. And then they have obviously what you'd expect with a heavy run team. They've got some play action concepts that they operate fairly well. What kind of makes their offense go, I think, is their 2 running backs. They kind of have and they're a good complement to one another. The Luga kid, number 10, he's a senior. He's a kind of a 5'9", 210, 215-pound kid. Very compact, physical runner. Not breakaway speed, but kind of a workhorse type of back. And then the younger kid, Kelly, is a longer, more high-cut kid, better speed, and does have the ability to take the thing all the way. And so I think his average yards per carry are probably 6.6 versus 5.0. Both very good, but I think that they, like I said, they complement one another well. A little bit different styles of running, but they do run their base game, their gap schemes, power, what we call TED, and perimeter play, very well. And that's kind of the meat and potatoes of their offense. Quarterback, I think he does a good job. I mean, he's a guy that's completing right at 60% of his passes. They will throw some nows and quick screens out there to try to get the ball to number 3 in space. And then I think that kid 3 in particular competes really well for the ball in the air. And so I know Coach Alexander, the more he watched him, the more he was impressed with him. They've got a young kid named Harold from St. John Bosco that's a true freshman, number 87, that's kind of emerged in the last couple of weeks, making more plays for him. And then they have the big tight end, 85, that is also a good target and does a nice job for him in the run game. On defense, defensively, their leading tacklers are safety, Zach Jones. I see him kind of body type-wise like Bryson, very similar type of player, very active in the box safety, physical tackler, and is very active in their defense. Their inside linebacker, Anesi, number 11, Probably about to put him in that, very, very efficient guy. I mean, he's got almost 50 tackles on the season, kind of a guy that produces game in and game out. I really like 92, Baumgart, the defensive lineman. I think he's undersized, but he plays bigger than he is, very active, and they move him around on the front. They'll play him inside, they'll play him outside. He's a very good pass rusher. I think he's very active, and they play, a variety of different guys inside like we do too. And so they've got a couple of interior defensive linemen that can cause you problems. 75 their nose, very quick, compact guy, and they're going to run primarily an odd front, and that's going to be something different because we haven't seen the center covered in a while, and so that's an adjustment that Alex needs to make, and they're going to blitz a bunch. I mean, they're almost 45% pressure. Their top coverage is 3 under 3 deep, meaning that they're bringing 5, and then they will max drop, which we do a lot, where they're dropping 8. So it's kind of bring your pressure or back off and play max drop, and so that's kind of their style. When you if you hit a play on them or they get in the red zone, you can expect pressure, and that's kind of their reaction. You make a play, okay, we want to try to create a negative play here, and so that's kind of seems to be kind of in their DNA in terms of how they operate on defense. And then I think they've been very good on special teams. The Kelly kid number 41 has had a couple explosive returns. In fact, he got him back in the Weber State game. They were kind of getting blown out in the Weber State game. He took a kickoff return back for a touchdown, and that kind of changed the course of the game there. And so he's an explosive guy, a guy that you have to be concerned about. I know Portland State chose not to take to him at all last week. And even against Wyoming and Oregon early in the year, he was a guy that was popping some decent returns. And so they do a good job in that phase. And that's an area where we've got to make sure that we've got things tightened up in.
The last chance to play in front of the home crowd, senior day, what's kind of the urgency level right now as far as making sure you go out and try to...
Yeah, we'll prepare kind of how we always do. I don't feel like, I feel like we practice pretty well. We have stretches. One of the things that stands out to me as the head coach is we're kind of at that stage where we can have stretches or periods of practice that are very, very efficient and very good, and then we'll have these lulls, and that's kind of how we play. We have these stretches where we play very, very well, and then we'll have these lulls, whether it's a lack of maturity in terms of our ability to focus over the course of a game or a practice. And so that's kind of how I see us right now as a team, and that's one of the things that we've kind of talked about, breaking practice up a little bit to create some reset within practice and make sure, hey, we've got to go back to work now. We've got to go back to work. And but as far as the urgency goes, I think our guys get it. We talked yesterday about there's not a lot of forever games, but this will be a forever game for our seniors. They'll always remember the last opportunity that they had to go out in front of our home fans here at Bobcat Stadium. And regardless of how you feel about the situation and what we're in, I would hope that you feel like you want to put your best foot forward for these young men that are going out there their last time. And so I know I'm focused and determined to send these guys out the correct way, and I think we'll have a group of young men that will be the same way.
What's it been like with a guy like JP who's in that situation? It seems like, despite the fact that he doesn't have the win-loss record he'd like in his last year, that he's sort of bought into what you were trying to build here.
Yeah, let me say this. I'm extremely grateful for the group of seniors that we have, because they've never been resistant. They've always come to work with an open mind and an open heart. I think they're appreciative of some of the things that we've brought to the program, and that probably is one of the things that makes this even more painful, because I just have a great deal of respect for those young men, and I heard for them because I want to see them have the success that I think they deserve. But that's the reality of life sometimes. And I know that all those guys are going to be very, very successful men. And part of the reason is because I can see how they handled this situation here. And so, it would mean nothing more. There would be nothing that would mean more to me than to be able to walk out of that stadium on Saturday afternoon with a win, and to help those young men take a little bit of sting off of this and set us up for the last week of the season. And so very, very appreciative and very impressed with all those guys.
Do you like this matchup? It seems like it's kind of like the North Dakota game, where if you just play tough, play hard, you have a chance, especially against their offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only game that I've been into this year when I was just scared to death was Eastern Washington. Okay, and so where you're going, we got to pull a rabbit out of our hat here, and we don't have to do that. We just have to, play good, tough, smart football and just not beat ourselves. And that's obviously, you can look at it and you just, I mean, that's what's happened here. You know, we have just not put ourselves in positions to win games because of self-inflicted wounds over and over again. And the balance there is, you got to go play. You can't say, well, what if, or I'm scared to call this, because you got to go play. You got to go play. And sometimes that's one of the things that happens. You say, you know, give the ball to the other. Now, positive, we didn't fumble the ball this week, so that's the first time in a couple weeks we haven't done that. And so, you know, I think there's some things that we can do, continue to do. And I think you see the maturation of Chris. Now what do we got to do to eliminate some of these negative plays? And I think there's some responsibility that we bear as coaches in terms of not putting him in a position where that might happen. And it's hard to call a game that way because you got to be, you know, you got to, okay, we're going here with the ball. Now, the one thing that Chris gives you, it might not be that check from this receiver to this receiver. It might be that check from this receiver to my feet. And he can still give you that. And so you just got to, you know, be smart with him and keep him in a good place mentally and not put too much pressure on him, but help him to help us.
Can you talk about that maturation, what you saw after a week off and on the field?
You know, I think he's a really confident kid in his own way, and I know you guys don't get an opportunity because he's a true freshman to spend a lot of time with him. But I think over the time you'll get a chance to spend with him. You'll see he's a very affable, very likable young man. He's got that quiet confidence. He's not a, you know, he's not a pound his chest, you know, talk smack type of guy at all. But he just has this almost this calming influence, and I think that can be, for coaches even, that can be a little bit deceiving, you know, because you're like, well, he's got it. Well, no, not necessarily. There's still some work to do there, and I think that's something that we've even had to work through. You know, it's like, Coach, I got it. Well, I'm not going to take your word for it anymore. Let's make sure you got it. And how about you throw the ball here, and if it's not there, you run there. And there's some things that I think we can help him do, and I think he's going to be a really good player.
Coach, what would you tell fans why they should come and support you this weekend?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to those seniors that we just talked about. You know, I mean, what else is there to do that's going to be any better on a beautiful sunny afternoon close to Montana that, you know, hang out with 19,000 of your closest friends and, you know, have a few adult beverages and enjoy the sunshine. So I think there's plenty of good reasons to come and support this team. And I think that, you know, especially in home games in particular, I think this has been a group that has fought very, very hard, competed very, very hard, and represented this university very, very well. And we've just got to, you know, take care of these seniors and make sure that they get an opportunity to go out right. I don't think there's anybody that is a Bobcat fan that isn't a fan of Chad Newell or Gunnar Brecky or Austin Barth or JP Flynn, and you know, guys like that deserve that support. And that's one thing I've really been impressed with about our fans is they're there, rain or shine. I mean, these are true fans. They're not front runners, and so I fully anticipate we'll have a great crowd on Saturday, and it'll be a great day.
Specifically with Chad, what kind of a void do you think he's going to leave when he leaves this place?
Yeah, you know, every team is different. It really is. And this is a small group of seniors, and in particular, it's small in terms of the guys that are, you know, have been here for a while. You know, we have the 2 graduate transfers that play significant downs for us, and then kind of those 5 other guys. And, you know, there's some guys that are, you know, important members of our team that don't play a ton. And so, yeah, you can see it, just the leadership, I think, and the spirit that he brings. But you would hope that he learned that from somebody around here, and somebody's been paying attention to him. And so I think that there's some guys. I mean, you know, we were talking about leaders the other night, and I was like, you know, we're gonna have some guys that are gonna surprise you, because I go and watch those young guys work out every Tuesday and Thursday morning. We've got some good leaders in that group. Some guys that are maybe more vocal, but some guys that are established here. And so this team is going to change tremendously. I think in the next 12 months, just because of the kind of the changing the guard is really going to happen. You know, because you kind of have these core guys that have been here for a while. They kind of get it and know what it's about. And we're here when we were good, and kind of have had to struggle through some of this downtime. And now it's somebody else's turn to step up. And but I know this, the process, even though the record doesn't show it, has been accelerated tremendously because of the commitment to the program that the seniors this year have.